Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. There's the one you come to see. She's saying hello. I hope you're doing wonderful things. Guys, we got some transfer news for you today and some inside the club news bouncing around the aggregators. And it's all kind of telling a similar story, something that we can surmise, something that we can infer. And that's what we're going to do. If you're new around these here parts, then hit the like button for me, hit the subscribe button too, and hit the notification bell, drop a comment, and all that jazz. First up on the inside the club news that's being reported, and this isn't new news, but it's being reported once again. Piere Emile Hojbjerg set to leave the club this summer. He's unhappy at the amount of playing time that he's been given. We know that, we know this. Second piece of news that's popped up regarding people's happiness is Celso is also and equally unhappy given his amount of playing time since his return from injury. Now this again isn't the first time you'll have heard this. It's probably the fifth, but in between those 5 times when you've heard Celso's unhappy, you'll have also heard moments when he is happy and he is enjoying it. And so I don't know which is closer to the truth, but I think you can infer if the guy is physically fit and able to do 100%, match fitness, then he's overdue a start, isn't he? He's overdue more time on the pitch than he gets in the last 5 or 6 minutes of games as a last throw of the dice by Ange Postecoglou, given James Maddison's recent form. Now, we spoke about James Maddison's form yesterday. A lot of people think it's because he's just struggling since his injury. A lot of Leicester fans have said to me and others, this is James Maddison. Like, he'll play well at the start of the season, but he'll get injured, and then it will take him a long time to get back up to speed. I personally think there's more to it than that. I personally think that in the first 10 games of the season, when he was spectacular alongside everybody else, when the other teams didn't know how to play against us, there was that overload of players in the final third, but the defence wasn't, the opposition defence wasn't set up in accordance to figure out how to counterbalance that. These days, that's not the case, and I feel like when we do this horseshoe football thing that I talk about, where you just spin it from left to right and right to left looking for the perfect pass, ultimately, because you've got so many players in there, the fullbacks in there, the wing forwards in there, the striker, the 10, maybe one of the 8s as well, sometimes everybody, plus the 10 opposition players, there's just not enough space for James Maddison. And I would like to see if and how Giovanni Lo Celso, a fully fit Gio Lo Celso, who is a wonderful player, I would like to see how he does. Now, is Ange Postecoglou brave enough to drop James Maddison for the Arsenal game? Because if it works, he's a hero, but if it doesn't work, then people will question why that was the choice he made. And let's be honest, on current form, if it does or it doesn't work, it's not necessarily going to be down to just Gio Lo Celso or James Maddison in the team. So, like, it's a huge risk, huge gamble. But then there's not really any other games coming up where you can think, oh, there's enough wiggle room in the competitive difference here for us to try Gio and drop James Maddison. Because I don't think James Maddison right now is deserving of a place in the team ahead of someone who, when he has come in, has always done very well in the few minutes that he's been given. And I think if you know my channel, if you know my opinion, I'm someone who stands on meritocracy. I think if you're good enough, if you've earned it, you should get it. And right now, I think James Maddison is ahead of Lo Celso in the pecking order on brand rather than much else. Not to say I don't like James Maddison, I love him and I want him to get back, but I think maybe he needs to kick up the backside and is made to realise that his his place is not necessarily or shouldn't be taken for granted. Now, of course, if Lo Celso is really unhappy and wants to leave, then Tottenham are going to have to go and find, you know, a replacement for him in the summer. Obviously, we're looking for a striker. We hope for sure we're looking for a dedicated six. Apparently, there's, you know, wing backs or full backs and centre backs we're still looking for. On that note, I'll carry on with the transfer news. Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham are very hopeful, according to reports today, that we're going to get him on a free transfer in the summer. As I've always said to you guys, it's not really free. The money you would have paid Fulham, you're going to pay most of that to an agent, to a family member, to the player, in either signing on fees or in compensation of some regard. But Fulham believe that they're going to be able to convince him to sign a new contract, and they're offering him quite a lot of money to stay. So will be interesting on that one. Look, listen, for me, Tottenham Hotspur, I put him in my fantasy team about 2-3 months ago after he got back from injury, and he's been phenomenal for my fantasy team, and he's a brilliant player. He's got better and better since his injury, and since, you know, the culmination of his contract is approaching. Now, like I said before, I'm not suggesting for a second that there's anything like ulterior motive here, but it's not the first time that you see players, as their contracts expire and are looking for a new gig somewhere and a big signing on fee, where they suddenly start playing their best football. But regardless of whether there's a conspiracy there or not, for me, Tottenham Hotspur is a wonderfully talented player. I'd love to have him in the Spurs squad. The only issue for me is that would leave us with, you know, 3 right-footed centre-backs of the 4. And I know, I've said this 100 times, I just don't feel comfortable with that imbalance. I think balance is necessary. And so we'll see. And listen, you know, Daniel Levy and Tottenham generally will take the kind of less risk, low risk, cheaper option if possible. Are Tottenham really going to go and drop 30 million quid on Calafiori? He's a left-footed, left-sided centre-back. Are they going to go after Lloyd Kelly still, who's got all the injury problems? Or are they going to go after the guy that doesn't need to move home, that you know, won't cost the world, who seems to have recovered from his recent injury and become a better player since then? You know, all avenues to me point towards a more simplistic transfer for Tosin. Well, let's see what happens. Will Tosin want to come and play second fiddle behind Christian Romero? Not sure. Anyway, that's the transfer news from the back of the line. Moving to the top end of the line, we're talking about Lo Celso. And look, if he does go, and if Hojbjerg goes, then obviously there's lots of work to do in the midfield as well. Now, the number one target that I've been seeing that keeps coming up, and it was up again today, is Dani Olmo, who is just an absolutely phenomenal player. A £51 million buyout, release clause, nothing that Leipzig can do. If we bid that money and he wants to come, he can come. He won't be short of options. He's worth that much money. The guy is absolutely sensational. He's a brilliant attacking midfielder who can slip out wide, do that fluid rigidity, but has the intelligence to work in tight spaces. And if you did bring him in, that would give the competition for James Maddison everything that he needs to remind himself that his place isn't a given. And he can play out on the wide right, play on the wide left, and do those kind of easy triangle transitions that this system is supposed to promote and excel at. And I think he would be a wonderful fit for Tottenham's system. And there's more and more links regarding that one. So I'll be very excited. If he comes in, that to me is a statement signing. You want a statement signing, that's a statement signing. The next 2 names off the block, I've had to write these ones down because I didn't know who they were. Bilal El Kanous plays for Genk. He's 19 years old. 3 goals and 6 assists as a midfielder, a defensive midfielder. Apparently Tottenham are all over him. I mean, I took a look on the Y Scout tool. I took a look at his stats. He looks handy, looks like a decent player, looks like someone with a lot of promise. but I've never heard of him, and you know, didn't spend too much time looking into him. Apparently Tottenham are at the head of a list of teams. The likes of West Ham and Wolves are looking at this guy, rather than, you know, the bigger teams in Europe. And so, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't want to sit there and just dismiss it because I'm not familiar with the guy, but doesn't really get my my juices flowing, if you know what I mean, guys. So Bilal El Kanous, like I say, according to a few of the aggregators, all this stuff is getting pushed around in Moroccan news. It might be dismissible more because there's no real serious media in the UK that have even represented the idea of it happening. So we'll move on. The next one is another one. We have to stay in Belgium. We have to go to Union Saint-Gauloise, and it's their striker Mohamed Amora, 23 years old, 22 goals this year, and picking up a lot of interest, allegedly, according to reports, from some of the bigger teams around Europe. Liverpool are looking at him, and obviously Tottenham are. A few teams in Italy are looking at him. I think Atletico Madrid are also looking at him. According to reports, again, I'm not too familiar with this guy. I've taken a look. I'll be honest, I've seen every one of his goals, every one of his assists. I've seen all of his key moments, zoomed in on him on the Y-Scout tool. And here's my takeaway. He's a good finisher. He knows how to find the back of the net when the ball is put in front of him. You know, he can hit the ball first time from a decent angle and score goals. When he runs with the ball, he's quite a tall guy, or he's quite like a big stocky guy, but he runs with tiny little steps. He looks like a penguin almost. And he looks awkward. He looks awkward on the ball. It doesn't look like he's, I feel like he's probably excelling at a certain level, but I'm not sure if he is the guy that will go on to necessarily do it at the highest level. But look, 22 goals this season for someone young is a very handy return. But he's not for me. It's not what I don't want these guys. I don't want these guys. Well, I want to see us be linked with some monster names. I need to see us be linked with Josh Kimmich for the 6, you know, Emmanuel Ugarte for the 6, someone like him, someone that we missed out on last summer, someone like an Isaac, even though I know he's never going to come. But, you know, I want names that are up here, been there, done it, know what needs to happen, come in, elevate the level, elevate the expectations, elevate the standards, and take us to the next step. But you know we're going to be linked with, all summer, lots of these players from, you know, second-tier European leagues, because that's the kind of way it works right now with Tottenham, right? Like, you know, Ange Postecoglou doesn't mind seeking out a bit of value here and there. And look, I wasn't that familiar with Micky Van De Ven, and look how brilliant he's become. So I'm not going to call out any particular transfer rumour and say absolutely not, it's a disgrace, but I'm laying my cards out right now. If Tottenham spend their summer being linked with players from Belgium all summer, and then big name players that we could have used end up going to some of our competition, will really frustrate me. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope that this year Tottenham are going to really see what's needed. We've had a year of Ange Bull almost, and surely the gaps in the squad are obvious to all the fans, and therefore you'd hope they'd be obvious to all the data merchants, the statisticians, the scouts, the manager, the chairman, and hopefully all of that work is being done right now, and hopefully we're going to have a wonderful summer. That's it for your transfer news, views and clues today, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, bye-bye.